The One Ring, an artifact of immense power, remained hidden for over 2,000 years beneath the waters of the Anduin. It lay in the Gladden Fields, lost and forgotten since the day Isildur perished, ambushed by orcs while fleeing northward. For centuries the ring whispered in the dark currents, waiting for the hands of fate to claim it. And then, one fateful day, it was found, not by a king, nor a warrior, nor a sorcerer, but by two hobbits fishing in the shallows. In the year 2463 of the Third Age, Deagle was dragged into the river by a great fish, and in its depths he saw something glimmer. He reached out, pulled it from the silt, and emerged from the water, holding in his palm a simple golden band. It was a discovery that would change Middle-earth forever, but it was not to be his, for his companion, Smeagol, overwhelmed by a sudden greed, murdered him and took the ring for himself. Consumed by its dark power, Smeagol fled into the misty mountains, where he would become something else, something twisted, wretched, and broken. This is the story we know. But what if Deagle and Smeagol had never found the One Ring? What if, on that day, the river did not give up its secret to two wandering stores? What if the ring had remained hidden for just a little longer? Who then would have found it, and how different would the fate of Middle-earth have been? To answer this, we must journey back to the Anduin and the Gladden Fields. We must place ourselves in the long years between the ring's loss and the time when Sauron and Saruman turned their gaze upon that land. For there was a window, a period, where the ring lay exposed, and within that time its fate could have fallen into other hands. For over 2,400 years, the ring was buried beneath the waters, lost in the mud of the Anduin's bed. It was not until the mid-Third Age that it was disturbed, but had it remained hidden past 2463, there is a period of nearly 500 years in which it could have been discovered by another. In TA 2850, Gandalf confirmed that the shadow in Dol Guldur was indeed Sauron, marking the start of greater activity in the region. By TA 2939, Sauron's servants were actively scouring the Anduin for signs of his lost treasure. Saruman, too, had begun searching the Gladden Fields in secret. After 2939, the ring's fate would have likely fallen into the hands of Sauron or Saruman as their search for it became more focused and relentless. But before their eyes turned toward the Gladden Fields, there was a window of time where the ring remained vulnerable, a period where fate might have steered it into different hands. In this span of nearly 5 centuries, there were those who roamed the Anduin, those who patrolled its shores, those who might have unknowingly reached into the riverbed and unearthed the doom of Middle-earth. And among them, we have narrowed our possibilities to 3 intriguing alternatives. The Stores, one of the 3 breeds of hobbits, thrived along the Anduin River, particularly in the Gladden Fields, where they fished, farmed, and traded with nearby peoples. So, perhaps instead of Smeagol and Deagle, another Store living along the Anduin comes across the ring. We know that they were around the Gladden Fields up to the 31st century of the Third Age, a time when the Nazgûl swept through the Gladden Fields, attacking the remaining Stores who were either slain or driven away. This would lead to a familiar tale, one where the ring corrupts its new bearer in solitude, and history repeats itself in minor ways. Another Gollum-like creature, lurking in the shadows, drawn to dark places and avoiding the growing power of Sauron. The timeline of the War of the Ring may remain largely unchanged, save for a few details, but this is not the most interesting possibility. No, there are two other paths that could change everything. Between TA 2463 and TA 2939, the Beornings inhabited the lands between the Misty Mountains and Mirkwood, particularly around the Carrack and the Old Ford of the Anduin. This region, close to the Gladden Fields, made it likely that the Beornings, during their patrols or hunts, would have occasionally ventured near the riverbanks where the One Ring lay hidden. The Beornings were a unique group of Northmen known for their strength, self-reliance, and deep connection to the wild. Closely related to the Rohirrim and the Men of Dale, they embraced a rugged lifestyle, excelling in woodcraft, animal husbandry, and beekeeping. Unlike many other men, they shunned the rule of kings, living instead in scattered homesteads and defending their lands with unwavering resolve. Among them, the most notable figure was Bjorn, a mighty skin changer capable of transforming into a bear. Bjorn played a crucial role during the late Third Age, aiding Thorin Oakenshield's company in their quest for Erebor and later uniting his people as a powerful chieftain. Under his leadership, the Beornings thrived, securing their lands against the threats of goblins, orcs, and other evils lurking in Mirkwood. The Beornings' presence extended far beyond their homesteads as they patrolled the lands and the riverways from orcs and other lurking threats. Their hunters and warriors often ventured southward in pursuit of game or to track the movements of hostile forces, making it entirely possible that one among them might have waded into the Anduin's waters and glimpsed a gold band resting in the riverbed, a treasure unlike any they had seen before. But what if neither a wandering Stor nor a rugged Beorning stumbled upon the ring? What if, instead, it was discovered by those who dwelled in the ancient realm of Lothlorien, the fair and golden wood ruled by the Lady Galadriel? Nestled between the Misty Mountains and the Anduin, Lothlorien stood as a bastion of light in a world growing ever darker. Its elves, the Gladrim, patrolled the borders of their sacred land with silent vigilance, ensuring that no evil crept too near. The Anduin marked the eastern boundary of their realm, and beyond it lay the Gladden Fields, a region not unknown to them. But the elves watched the great river closely, wary of movements from Dol Guldur and the growing shadow to the south. It was here, on the edges of their patrol routes, that fate could have played its hand. Among these wardens was Haldir, a seasoned march warden of Lothlorien, tasked with guarding the forest's northern and eastern borders. Unlike many of his kin, Haldir had travelled beyond Lothlorien and understood Westron, making him more attuned to the affairs of the wider world. His duty often led him along the Anduin, where his patrols kept watch for movements from Dol Guldur and other threats lurking beyond the Golden Wood. One such patrol took him near the Gladden Fields. It was here, while scanning the riverbanks for signs of enemy passage, that something caught his eye, a glint of gold beneath the waters of the Anduin. Curious, yet wary, he stepped forward, retrieving a ring from the shallows. Even before he turned it over in his palm, he sensed that this was no ordinary trinket. A shadow clung to it, a whisper of something far older and more powerful than any mere relic. Haldir, being no fool, knew that such a thing was beyond him to judge. Without delay, he resolved to return to Caras Galadon, bringing the ring before Galadriel and Celeborn. As the bearer of Nenya, one of the 3 elven rings, Galadriel would sense the presence of the One Ring the moment it entered Lothlorien. Its power would ripple through the golden wood, calling to her in a way both terrible and tempting. Unlike others before her, she would resist its lure, but the discovery of the ring would set events into motion far earlier than in the known timeline. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Galadriel would summon the White Council, forcing an earlier confrontation with the knowledge that the ring had resurfaced. The White Council had been formed in TA 2463 at Galadriel's behest following Sauron's return to Dol Guldur. Its members included Saruman the White, Gandalf the Grey, Elrond of Rivendell, Galadriel herself, and Círdan the Shipwright. In the known timeline, the Council delayed action against Dol Guldur for centuries, with Saruman manipulating events from within. But now, with the ring no longer hidden in the river's depths, the Free Peoples would be forced to act. The balance of power would shift, and, just as in the canon timeline, where the White Council finally launched an assault on Dol Guldur in TA 2941, so too would they strike now, only far earlier and with far greater stakes. Sauron, sensing the growing threat, would not sit idle. His forces, mustered in the darkness of Dol Guldur, would move swiftly to counter the attack. The woods of southern Mirkwood would burn with battle as elves and wizards clashed against the sorcery of the necromancer, and just as before, Sauron, knowing he could not yet withstand a direct assault, would abandon his stronghold and flee to Mordor, accelerating his return to the Dark Tower. With the One Ring now in Lothlorien, the fate of Middle-earth would tremble upon the edge of a knife. Galadriel, wise beyond mortal reckoning, would gaze upon it with the knowledge of its true nature. Unlike the men of Numenor who had fallen to their own ambitions, or the wizards who treaded ever close to the line between wisdom and folly, she had long borne the burden of power. Nenya, the Ring of Water, had been hers for centuries, its influence woven into the very fabric of Lothlorien, preserving the timeless beauty of the golden wood. But the One Ring was different. It was not made to preserve, it was made to rule. She would resist its call, just as she had when Frodo offered it to her in the canon timeline, yet the struggle would be far greater now. It was one thing to gaze upon the ring in another's hands, and quite another to hold it, to feel the weight of dominion resting upon her palm. She had once dreamed of such a power, a means to shape the world unchallenged, to bring order, to drive away the shadow with a force greater than even Sauron himself. And now the ring whispered to her, offering all that she had once desired. But Galadriel's wisdom would not fail her. The visions of a world reshaped by her hand, of an eternal queen ruling from a throne of light and terror, would not deceive her. She would master the moment, turning away from temptation, knowing that to wield the ring was to fall into ruin. Yet even in resisting, she would recognize the terrible truth. The ring could not remain in Lothlorien, not with Sauron still seeking it, not with Saruman's eyes lingering too closely upon it, and not with the weight of history pressing ever forward. A decision had to be made. Would the wise attempt to hide it, to keep it from both friend and foe? Would they dare to use it, to bend its power against the rising darkness? Or would they seek to destroy it, despite the knowledge that its unmaking could only be achieved in the fires of Mount Doom? But that, dear travellers, is a tale for another time. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the hidden possibilities of Middle-earth. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into Tolkien's legendarium. Until our next adventure, May the stars shine upon your faces.